So, welcome to a chat about everything eBay for beginners, really. We have John, who has done eBay for what, John, the last year or so at least?
Yeah, about a year and a half.
Part-time alongside his job. And we have Jordan, who is brand new to eBay. How long have you been doing eBay for, Jord?
2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
Maybe
So
not
you're
that,
really, really new to eBay. So really today's chat is about that. So people who might not know how to do eBay at all and people who do it part-time and might want to know a few extra things. And any advice I can give you guys is great because I've learned quite a lot by the different groups I'm in and also by 2 years of doing eBay. So George, I think it's best we start with you. So have you got any questions that you'd like to know the answers to?
questions. The main question really is for me is what is best to look for?
Okay, so
buying something on eBay.
Yeah, so that's a tough one to answer really because it all depends on whether you plan to niche down into a certain category. So have you got, my advice would be, first of all, for anyone starting eBay, is what kind of things are you into? What kind of things do you like selling? Or do you think you would like selling?
What, myself?
Yeah.
I think, electronics really.
Okay.
Obviously, you've got the risk of electronics of not working.
Yeah,
you do,
absolutely.
That's one thing that I've found I go towards because it's quite easy for me to test, especially like DVD players and VHS players. As long as you've got the right connections, it's quite easy to see whether it all works.
So yeah, I think electronics are quite good because you can find them at quite a lot of places, and even older tech sells quite well. So thinking of that, George, where do you think you'll be able to find electronics then? Because obviously you need to go and source the stock. So what is your plans potentially to go and look for them electronics?
Well, recently I've been looking a lot on Facebook, but
okay.
I recently been to my first boot fair.
So
I went Wednesday, so yesterday. I picked up a few printers for £1.
Yeah.
And I'm looking to list it for like £30. So
okay. Sorry, go on, mate.
So a half decent profit.
Yeah.
I mean, you can find electronics majority places really, but yeah, a lot of Facebook I've been looking. I don't really know where else to look.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, printers are a good place, and I think I started quite a lot of printers because they're quite easy to test as long as there's ink with them, or you can buy ink to test, and all you need to really do is a test print on the printer itself. So let's talk a little bit about that. And actually, luckily, and this is not pre-planned, next to me I have an item here, which is a printer, funnily enough, and it's a brand new box printer. So let me talk through a little bit, if I can, about how I would go about listing this then, because a lot of people feel on eBay it's just a case of typing in the printer name and that's all you need to do. So let's push it over to you then, Jordan, because Jonathan's obviously listed a lot of items as of high. So if you was listing this HB DeskJet printer, how would you go about it? So if we was to do a listing, would you search it first of all and sell similar, or would you start your listing from scratch?
I would search it up first.
Okay, so let's use this as the example then. So if we type in HB, and if we type in 3762 printer.
So what I've done is I've searched the product, and then I will then filter it to sold. So see what one's recently sold. At the price
cool. So let's do that then. So we typed in the product. We'll scroll down to solds. Okay, so this is brand new as a printer. So then what I would probably do is go down to your side here, and you see the condition category. You can click new.
Yeah.
So that will filter out all the new stuff compared to the pre-owned stuff. So Jordan, what would you do in this scenario then? Because we've gone on to new printers, and these are the solds. As you can see, all different prices. So 45, 35, 59.90, 79.99, £40, and they all vary. So how much would you list printer for then, and what would your next steps be?
Well, obviously, I'll check if mine comes with ink, etc.
Okay, so this one's brand new and sealed, so it will do, because it says on the box as well. But looking at these prices here, how much would you list this printer for?
if I was to list it, I'd probably list it at 40.
Okay. What are you
I'll
basing that on? Just so I know where your thought process is going.
Well, just as obviously you got the first three, one being 45, then 35, then 60.
Yeah.
I'll probably just base it like in the middle kind of thing.
Okay.
Like
And John, what would you do?
I would personally go for the higher offer and then do best offer on it.
Okay, so you'd probably go more to 59,
Yeah,
90.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I would do first of all, before any of that, is I would unclick sold. I would leave the tab on new, and you can see my printer listed up there. And actually, mine's well overpriced. So looking at already, I can see from the current market, it's well overpriced. But then what I'd probably do is most people will search either best match or lowest to high. So I would click on lowest to high here, and I would see the cheapest print on the market is £52.50 with free post. So you know straight away, mine at £74.99, no one's probably going to buy that because it's well overpriced, even with the 25% off coupon. So actually, what I would probably look to do is to list my printer just under this price here. So it's the lowest in the market because, for instance, during lockdown, printers might have gone through the roof, similar to like Wii games consoles. You know, Wii games consoles were going for over £100 during lockdown, but now they're going for about £25-30 for a box Wii. So if you looked at solds and you got through to the lockdown prices, you might list your item at £100 and never sell. So what I would probably do, and in this instance, I'm going to change mine now while we're here, is I would probably go for under that price. I've got the 25% off coupon I'm running at the moment, but I would change this one down probably to $49.99 and leave my postage on there. So I'm charging post. So effectively, I'm going to show up as the second cheapest in the list, but actually with the 25% off, someone's going to get a real bargain if they was to buy the printer. But it all depends on what you paid for it. So this only cost me £10. So I know even if it went for the $49.99 with the 25% off, I'm still going to make a good profit on there. But it's always important to check not just the solds, but also the current market rate for stuff as well. So Jordan, what I wanted to do as well, I know you've listed up this golf club recently, this Nike Sumo driver. And I just want to have a look at your listing here so we can compare it to the others as well. So if I try and open that to a new tab. So this is your listing, Jordan, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so what can you see already from the others listed compared to yourself? What would you say?
The title.
Yeah, correct. So with yours, you've just got Nike SQ Sumo driver.
Mm-hmm.
Other people have got a lot more information in the title. So where eBay places you on this list of best match, if we full screen that a second, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before somebody even sees you.
Mm-hmm.
And on mobile app, that's quite a bit of scrolling for them to get down to your item. So the other way people search, I mentioned, is lowest to high. So if we do lowest to high, you're still about 5th or 6th in the list. Ignore this Japan one. So if we just looked at UK, you're about 5th or 6th in the list. So still quite a bit of scrolling. But I think by changing your title, it will allow you to rank higher on that first page on best match. So what I would do is probably look at the other ones for sale, and I would copy near enough the title they have. So I would probably put, and I made some notes before, I'd put Nike Sumo SQ driver 9.5 degree, golf club, and then I'll talk about the graphite shaft, and I'll put right-handed. So similar in a way to this one here, but I would add the right-handed.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing as well, looking at your listing, it is a 9 point, I believe it's a 9.5. Yeah, see that there where it says 9.5?
Yeah.
But on eBay, a lot of people use this search down the left-hand side here. So if I was looking for a 9.5 loft, if I click on there, your item has completely gone from the list. So it can't be found on eBay. And that is because you haven't filled in what is called the item specifics on eBay. So you see here how you've only got a few filled in. You've got right-handed, which is good. You've got a driver and you've got Nike. If I was to then click on this one here, do you see how much more I have filled in?
Yeah.
And that allows for anyone who's using this left-hand side navigation to find it. So, for instance, they might be looking for a right-handed. They might then narrow it down to a 10.5. And then they might also say to themselves, I only want the 45.5 inch. And as you can see, there's the one club. And so that club will sell if that person's looking for that, as long as the price is right. So I think the price you've got in your club is thereabouts right. I'd probably lower it down to $34.99 myself. Your postage is good, $5.99 post. You should be able to make a little bit on that postage. But my suggestion would be to go in and add as many of these item specifics as possible.
Yeah.
And to do that, and I'll give you an example because I've got loads to catch up on myself. As you can see, I've got 166 recommended I need to add. You literally just click on this tab on your sales page and then click add item specifics like that. And it'll ask you to fill in as many as possible. Now you need to fill in as many which suit your category and the item you're selling. So some of them will have things like style I can fill in, custom bundle, no. Things like China, you don't have to put it in. But this section here, let me just make this bigger. This section here is the most important. So just under your required, the recommended is what's most important. That's going to help people find your item. So you'll see when you click on that golf club, you have lots of recommended you can fill in. And again, that will help you rank higher in the eBay search, because you can imagine even when you're buying things, you think online, if you're on Amazon or eBay, you type in a product and normally you will buy something from the top 3 or 4 you see. It's very rare you'll scroll to page 2 or page 3 to actually try and find something. So my advice would be for you, Jordan, to give that item a boost and help you hopefully get that first sale on your eBay store, is to lower the price by £5, fill in them item specifics, and I guarantee you'll have a sale quite quickly, because golf clubs, especially Nike, are really popular as well. So hopefully that gives you a bit more of an understanding about how you can rank higher on eBay, but title structure and also the item specifics filled in are really important stuff as well.
I struggle sometimes with them item specifics because I don't know them.
Yeah.
It's hard to know what you need to fill in, even though they're recommended, you know?
Yeah, so let me share the screen again. Let me just do that, and I'll show you what I do. Because I completely agree. I think sometimes they're a bit pointless as well, and some don't apply. So let me try and find an item where it might not apply. Here we go. Board games are the classic one, because on this board game here, everyone knows what Monopoly is. You've got the year. So I can already see in the title I put the year, so I can put that as 1980s. The theme, so I'd probably call it finance and strategy as a game. And then this is where it gets a bit pointless, and this is where you should leave it. So character family. So you've got Star Wars, you've got Game of Thrones, Harry Potter. None of this applies to Monopoly. So I would leave it blank because there's no point filling it in. Minimum number of players you could fill in, because you could play Monopoly on your own, but normally it's 2 players or more. Age level, again, you could fill it in, but actually it applies to kind of all ages. So I would probably just tick all 3 of these. So I'd probably say 4 to 7, 8 to 11, 17 years, and up and 12 to 16. And the award thing I would leave blank. But then what I always do after that is click this box here what says, don't remind me about these recommendations again, because it will keep reminding you that you're missing character, family, etc. And that's not relevant. So I would only say fill in if it's relevant. And if you don't know certain things, I just literally jump onto Google and have a Google. So for this printer, for instance, if I didn't know a lot about it, I would just Google HP DeskJet 3762. And I would find the bits I'm missing to fill them in. It is time consuming sometimes, but I have found for myself in my store, it's really helped give my store a real boost on the traffic. So let me show you that. So I think it's given my store a huge boost on traffic alone just by filling them in. As I say, it does take a bit of time. Let me just authorize this. eBay.
What I've done sometimes, if I didn't know what it was, I put unknown in there, but I don't know whether it's worth doing that or just leave it blank.
I would leave it blank. And the reason behind that, you don't want that to mess up the algorithm as well, thinking you filled in something that's not a correct category. So my impressions actually, let me scroll across here, 16.8% up. And that's by me filling these in. And as you can see, I've got 160 still to do. But by having the impressions higher, you're basically attracting more people through to your store. You see, so it's quite a high level. So I would always recommend doing that for that reason alone, because you want to it's all about getting as many eyes on your item as possible. That's what's really key. But then once people are looking at your item, you want to make sure it converts. So it's similar to imagining someone walking into your shop and looking at everything and walking out without buying anything. That's not good. But you want people to, first of all, walk in your shop. That's the first step. To then look at your items, that's step 2. Pick it up is step 3. And then to buy it is step 4. But unless you get to step 1, you can't get to step 4. So I always think to myself, filling as many as possible which are relevant to help you get to that point. So especially, Jordan, with you as a new person, keep on top of that, because John's probably the same as me. They quickly build up, and that becomes an hour or 2-hour task potentially on some items as well. So moving on to John a bit, promotions, I don't think, Jordan, you can do, because you haven't actually got an eBay store. You've just got a private account at the moment because you're selling your own stuff and starting to pick up some other bits as well. But John, do you promote your items in your store?
Only with the coupons. Obviously, I can't, as you know, my seller feedback is below the standard, so I can't.
Oh yes, so you can't
do
promote
certain things on my store which I want to do, and that's obviously down to just cases that have not been resolved correctly. So that's one thing to know, George, for if anyone ever does open up a case to return an item or whatever, if you don't resolve it correctly, it goes against you as a seller. And if you get a certain percentage that's not closed correctly, they mark it against your eBay account. And so I now can't do certain functions that Jim can do on his account.
Yeah, so the key is, George, is don't ignore it. That's the absolute key, because the last thing you want is eBay to step in. So you might think you're completely correct, and the customer has opened up a return case saying the item doesn't work, and you know in your heart of hearts you've tested it. The best thing to do is just accept the return and get the item back and deal with it from there. Because if you ignore it, or you don't reply, or you don't respond, and eBay steps in after, I think it's 3 or 4 days, if they close that case in the buyer's favor, you don't just get the item back, you won't get it back, but also you'll get a ding on your account, and that can affect you from doing things in the future. Like at the moment, John can't do promotions. And I think, John, yours is mainly down to late shipping, because there was a time where you wasn't sending it recorded or tracked. So
that as well. And somewhere, obviously, a phone was delivered, but they said it wasn't in the box when it got delivered, and it was no way of me proving that it got delivered. It was in the box to begin with. So that went unresolved and marked against my account. And the late delivery, like I said to you the other day, when I phoned them up, they said it didn't necessarily go against my account, which is why I can't do these extra promotions. But it was down to the cases not resolved that was doing that.
Yeah, but so it is that. It's just responding to the customer as well, because you will get a time when you're new, maybe not so much, but once you have a certain amount of items in your store, things do go wrong, things get lost in the post, things do arrive damaged. You might have thought you've tested it 100%, but actually there's one part you haven't, and that's the issue, kind of thing. So just make sure you're on it when it comes to messaging and doing that part as well.
And it's not even necessarily things going wrong, because I got a return at the moment because the CD player I sent them is not the right size for where they want it. So they're returning it because they just don't want it anymore. So it's just you've got to deal with things like that as well.
So Jordan, what else do you need to know as a newbie reseller then, on someone who's looking at doing this on the side of their current job? Because obviously listing an item is really important. As we talked about there, the title and the specifics are really important. But what else do you think you would need to know? I guess you haven't posted any items yet, so do you know how to print postage labels and stuff like that?
Postage is it was a question I was going to ask. Obviously, I haven't sold an item yet, so I don't know 100% on what I'm doing when I do sell an item.
Okay, let me show you. So if I share my screen again, and I can't print this label because it's down the shed, my label printer. But let me talk about if you haven't got a label printer, because not a lot of people do when they first start. I know, John, you still use a normal printer, which you can use. But for instance, if I have this order now, and I'm going to try and let me just unshare my screen quickly because I don't want to show any private information. So let me just go on to the purchase post label. Let me try and cut out as much as possible. Okay, cool. So this should be fine to share for a sec. If I need to hide it, I'll just remove it from the stream quickly. So all I've done here is I've clicked on, let me see if I can show you the first part I clicked on. So I've just clicked on this part here, what says purchase postage label. And this is on your orders tab. So once you have an order, it will come into this section here under orders. And then you click on this, which is purchase postage label. And that will bring you to this page here, which is ship your order. So what I do and what I use at the moment is a company called Packlink. And that's where you can do, for instance, Hermes, UPS and other things as well. So if I show you what I do, but there's lots of different ways. So click on Packlink. And let me just scroll through that quickly. And what it will show here is the item itself and the postage cost. So as you can see at the right-hand side here, it shows you how much postage is going to be. But you need to obviously check how much your item weighs. So you've got different options, 0 to 1 kg. You've got 1 to 2 kg, 2 to 5, 5 to 10. And then other is anything over. So say my item was 15 kg, I would have to type in 15. And then you would have to measure the item before it gives you a price, as you can see. That's based on that item weighing 15 kg, length, width, and height of the item. But say, for instance, I mean, this wallpaper I've just sold, I know it's going to be probably 2 to 5 kg. So I click on there, and here is all my postage options. You've got every, who used to be Hermes. You've got UPS. You've got every next day delivery. So if the customer has paid for next day delivery or you wanted to get it to the customer quicker, and you've got DPD next day delivery. So these are the options I can choose from via Packlink, but there is different websites you can do for postage, and we'll talk about them another time. But for instance, all I'd have to do here, and to make sure it's going to be the right way, I'm going to select there, even if it costs me a little bit more for this example. So I would select every. I've set it up to my PayPal for my business account for eBay, and I click on that. So
also just above though, you can choose whether to get it picked up or dropped off, can't you?
Yeah, you can. So you can, let me go back to, I might have to start again. I tell you what, let me do this. Let me just cancel and purchase a new label because I need to wait anyway. But anyway, John's right. So you can select here collection. And if I go back to the same way, you can see the drop-off price is £5.84. The collection price is £6.84. So if you can't get to a parcel shop or you can't get to a locker where you can put the item in and it's more convenient, you can get Every or Hermes to come and collect the item from your house. So if you can't get out and about to travel, you can do it this way. But bear in mind, that's going to cost you more money. And here you can select the collect date. So you can choose another date of when you want to collect it and the time as well. So some of the couriers will give you a different time to come and collect it. So yeah, there's lots of different ways you can do it. I always drop off because I'll take them at the end of the day or in the morning to the parcel shop, etc. But once you have clicked on this one, so I've selected the size, I've gone through to this page here. It will give you two options. So you can print an A4 label. So if you've got a normal printer, you can print that onto A4. But what I do is I select the 4x6 because I've got a label printer. I click open label, I click print, I stick that on my parcel, and that's ready to go. But the good thing about it, if you haven't got a label printer, you can, as I say, use a normal printer. Now that's what John does. Or what you can actually do, you can go to a parcel shop with Hermes and they will actually print you out the label there as long as you've got the code. So when you are first starting, it's very important to know how you're going to print the label.
Would you say a label print is worth it?
When you first start, honest answer, no. Because you won't have as many orders as when you start building up your eBay store, and it's an extra cost. So my advice to anyone starting would be your main aim is to sell as many items as possible and to then reinvest that money into more stock while you build it up. I think it took me to, I think I was on about 150 items or maybe 100 items before I got a label printer. But on the flip side to that, they do save you a lot of time. So I can print off, 30 postage labels in 5 minutes or so. And you haven't then got to worry about having to stick them on with sellotape, etc. So that saves you a bit of time. So it's all about the time. But my advice would be try and find yourself a secondhand label printer. There's loads of decent brands out there. I use a Zebra one myself and they're so robust. But yeah, my advice would be if you do become more serious into it, say you're listing 5 items a day and you are selling items, I would say invest yourself in label printer because they do save you a lot of time. But for your level at the moment where you've only got, how many items have you got on your store? 4? 5 items. So yeah, I would say until you get to at least 100 items, I don't think you need to worry too much as long as you've got a normal printer at home, because that's a lot easier for you than having to queue up in a parcel shop, type in the code, etc. to get your labels. So, I mean, John, you still use a normal printer, don't you?
Yeah, I've just used my normal one, at home. One thing as well, George, with you using the Patlink thing that Jim just showed you, because you can go elsewhere and just buy a label off a website of a different parcel place. But what it does, it puts all the tracking numbers and stuff onto your item that you've just sold, rather you having to upload it yourself. So you literally just have to buy the postage label, put it on, and then send it off. And all the tracking and that's kept on the actual item itself. So whoever's bought it can look it up for themselves. Whereas if you went anywhere else but Patlink, you'd have to input all of that tracking details yourself, and it becomes a bit more hassle, basically.
Yeah, John's absolutely right. The good thing about that is the tracking number has automatically been added to this order. So let me see if I can show that without, I don't want to give away all the customers' information. So let me try this way. Okay, yeah, cool. I can share this part here. So it does help when it comes to eBay, because if a customer was to open up a case saying the item has not been delivered, eBay will straight away look at this tracking number. So you see how I've purchased that label, the tracking number's there. So I can click on that and that's going to show me the estimated delivery. Ignore that a little bit at the moment. It's only because there's a raw mail strike. So things are potentially taking a bit longer, but that will show the whole journey of the parcel. And that will show that to the customer as well. So the customer can keep track on where their parcel is, instead of them messaging you every half an hour saying, have you sent it? Have you done this? So the next step on my tracking will be, I've done the tracking number provided. As soon as I've dropped that off at the parcel shop, that will update. And then it will carry on the whole journey from start to finish, right until it reaches that customer. Then if a customer says they haven't received the item, you've got proof from the tracking number it has been received. So eBay will side with you on that case there, as long as you can prove it with the tracking number that it's been delivered to the customer. But yeah, John's right. If you do it from other websites, sometimes you have to manually put that tracking number in. And if you forget to do that and you lose the tracking number, then it's your word against theirs, and eBay will always side with them. If they turn around and say it hasn't been received, unfortunately, you will have to take the hit on that. So
it's a bit same with Royal Mail as well, isn't it? Like I sent some old money to someone just over a week ago now, and they messaged me today saying they've still not received it. But Royal Mail's tracking isn't great through eBay. So I can't actually see where that item is currently.
Yeah, and I think with Royal Mail as well, obviously there has been a recent strike as well, and with the bank holiday. So eBay is kind of giving us sellers the benefit of the doubt a bit more. So if a customer is saying to eBay hasn't arrived, eBay explaining to them that there's a bank holiday, there's been a strike, there's been a couple of postal strikes, there's one even today. So don't expect to receive it in that kind of time frame. So they will give you a bit of extra. But I think with courier companies, Jordan, the thing to realize is there's not a perfect one. Every single courier company is going to make mistakes, and you will get items lost and damaged. And I had one yesterday that was damaged. But you've kind of just got to find when you trust that most of your items are going to go well with. I don't use raw mail because I've had lots of things go wrong, but I've had minimal things go wrong with Hermes. But you speak to other people and now have loads of issues with with Hermes, but not raw mail. So my advice would be choose a courier company, stick to it for a bit and see how we get on. Don't choose raw mail for one item, Hermes for another, and whatever it may be. Stick to one and then see how you get on and use it from there. And you can always change in the future as well. But when it comes to packing your first item and shipping your first item, that is the process you need to do. You need to print a label, you need to pack it well, stick it on the box, drop it in the parcel shop, and then it's down to the courier company then. So it's kind of out of your hands in a way, unless it arrives to the customer damaged. If it goes missing, you can open a case for the courier company. And if the customer receives it and the tracking shows it, and I've had this a few times, and the customer says it hasn't arrived, all you need to do on that case that's opened against you is upload the tracking number again and say tracking shows item has arrived, and eBay will close that case in your favor. And if the customer still wants to complain, that comes out of eBay's pocket. eBay won't penalize you for that. So tracking is very important when it comes to the parcels, I feel, and it's the quickest way you'll learn is the moment where something goes wrong and you haven't got tracking uploaded, then you'll learn the hard way.
And if you go through Packlink have their own kind of like claims department. So should you need to track a package, you go to them, provide them with the details, and they go off and find the package for you. It's not like you have to do it all yourself, which is handy. And then they'll come back and say, oh, it's been lost, claim through this, or they'll tell you what's happening with it. So you don't really have that stress of trying to track it down yourself.
So George, as a beginner, what else do you feel you need to know? Because obviously this is sort of stage one to getting listings up, to getting things shipped. The sourcing's always interesting, and honestly, you'll learn sourcing as you go along.
The sourcing's the other one, which I think I'll find quite hard to start with.
Yeah, and I think if anything, the truth is, I source the majority of my stock at the car boot sale, and the car boot sales are coming to the end.
With the end of the season now, would you go to auctions?
Yeah, so me and John go to an auction on a Thursday sometimes, which is good to pick up stock. Facebook Marketplace, which you're using already, is a great place to find stock. Trash Nothing's another place. You've got the Nextdoor app, you've got Gumtree, you've got Friends and Family. Let friends and family know what you're doing and see whether they want to give you stuff. You've got charity shops. But honestly, when I first started, I sold so much around the house, things that you don't use. So you might have stuff sitting around that you haven't used in 6 months or so. Can you sell that on eBay to make profit, to get you to that next level where you can buy more stock? You can speak to house clearance people on Facebook Marketplace. I've done that for my books I got. So there's lots of opportunities. You just need to be proactive in finding them. And the difficult thing is, with the boot sales coming to a close, Facebook Marketplace is going to become even more competitive. So where you see an item listed up, if it's been listed up longer than, say, half an hour, if it's a really good sought-after item at a good price, you might not get it. So you need to be on the ball. So my advice would be set up some alerts on Facebook. So when someone in your area posts something, I've got one set up for Nerf guns. So when someone makes a post about Nerf guns, I get an alert. So I could be quite quick on the ball with stuff like that as well. So I would probably pick 5 or 6 things you really want to look out for that you might enjoy selling, and really concentrate on them at first. And then while you're scrolling through, you might see some extra bits. So you mentioned electrical. So maybe set up some searches for hi-fi systems, for printers, for cameras, for DVD players, for VHS players, etc. Just so you can start building up some stock for you and really getting your head around how eBay works as a platform, because that for me is the biggest learn. If you can quickly learn how it all works, the rest of it becomes easier. And then sourcing stock does become your main problem, but it becomes a good problem to have because you know how to, when you get that stock, how you can quickly list it on the platform.
Yeah.
John, have you got anything else to add about sourcing?
No, just same as you really, because obviously I kind of only really go to the auctions and car boot sales here and there, but Trash Nothing for me is a thing, and you can set up notifications on there as well, which allow you to get things. And obviously anything you pick up from there is profit straight away because it's free. So for me, that's always my go-to. And sometimes just even if it looks interesting, I go for it. Especially on Trash Nothing, because it might not make you a ton load of money, but if it makes you a tenner, it's profit at the end of the day. And so that's where I go to at the moment, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good point. I think sometimes when you start, any profit is good profit, and we're going to be disrupted here. I'm going to have to clip this bit out.
And of course you can.
Hey, you've had your dinner. Yeah, so I agree. I think any profit is good profit, especially when you first start. So I would agree there. If you can pick up something for free that's going to make you £10 or £15, go for it, because it again teaches you how to list on eBay and teaches you what it's like posting and packaging. And talking of posting and packaging, that's another good thing. Make sure you have boxes available, because the last thing you want to do is to sell something and then you have to ship it, say, tomorrow or the day after, and you're racing around trying to find boxes that fit the item. So when you're new, as soon as you buy an item, make sure you've got a box to go with it, and keep that box to the side to say, once this sells, I know where to put it in, because that will cause you extra stress if you don't have the boxes available as well. But my advice today for you, Jordan, would be to go back into your previous listings, make sure the titles are good, fill in as many of them specifics as possible, and check the current market price as well as the sold, and see if you can get yourself in line or maybe just under the current market price. And then your item should sell quickly, because you'll rank higher. You're in the best possible place if someone searches lower to high. If you put yourself in the top 3 or 4 of that, you'll show on that screen. And if you can match all of them, you will sell that golf club especially really quick, because it's really popular. So that'd be my recommendation for today. And see how you get on there, and then just keep looking for more items to build up that store. Try and get eBay store to 10 or 15 items, and then you can start building momentum from there. Sales start coming in, it gives you a bit more money to buy new stuff. And then spend your money wisely as well. Don't just rush out to feel I need to buy something, especially when you're doing this alongside another job. You know, you haven't got to rely on eBay to pay your bills. So take your time when buying items. Don't just sort of jump in two-footed and hope for the best. Do your research first of all.
Yeah.
Anything else to add from anyone else? Any more?
No, not really. Not from me, really. Yeah. I just need to have a long old hard homework on eBay.
Yes, absolutely. But also watch YouTube, and I'm not talking about just my channel, but if you do want to watch my channel, subscribe to Bold Finds, like and subscribe. But other resellers as well. There's so much information on eBay on YouTube. So if you're not sure how to do something, just search it on YouTube and you'll find a video quickly. I'll give you the answers as well. But hopefully that's a help for you today for a newbie reseller. And hopefully, John, we've added some onto your insight as well, especially about the item specifics and stuff.
Yeah, always value, mate, and anything that helps me alongside with eBay. Obviously, your knowledge of eBay is a lot better than mine. So, yeah, I'll take that on board and hopefully get some more sales along the way.
Amazing. Well, we'll call it a day there, guys. Hope that was helpful. And anyone else who watches the video, I hope it helps as well. And maybe in a few weeks' time, we can get you both back on and we can see how Jordan's done with them listings and see whether we've got any sales.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cheers, guys, anyway.